All right, so today we're gonna kind of shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and dive into something that honestly might just change the way you learn.
Interesting.
Have you ever gotten that feeling of
Uh,
like information overload?
Oh, yeah.
Like you're trying to drink from a fire hose? It's
All
like,
right.
whoa,
Too much.
too much coming at you.
Absolutely.
So we're tackling visual learning today, and you might be surprised to learn it's not just about pretty pictures, you know?
Right.
It's about seriously boosting your brain power.
Yeah. It's fascinating how we often underestimate the power of visuals.
Yeah,
I think about it like a well-designed infographic can make even the most complex topic suddenly just click.
totally.
And it's not just about making things look nice. It's about tapping into how our brains are wired.
I think that's such a good point.
Yeah.
And so we're working with this awesome essay
Okay.
called Visual Narratives for Enhanced Learning,
Hmm.
and it dives deep into the science behind all of this.
I like it.
One of the biggest takeaways, get this, we remember way more of what we see
Hmm.
compared to what we read.
That's fascinating.
I know, and combining visuals with text,
Yeah.
that's like unlocking a whole new level of
Right.
understanding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It all comes down to how our brains process information.
Okay.
Alan Paivio's dual coding theory explains that we have two main channels,
Okay.
verbal and visual,
Okay.
when we engage both at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like giving our brains a turbo boost.
Okay, so two channels working together.
Yeah.
But what does that actually look like in practice?
Sure.
Like, I'm a bit of a history buff, and I can spend hours poring over dense texts,
I hear you.
but sometimes I feel like I'm just not absorbing it all.
Right.
Yeah.
So think about a historical event, like, say,
Okay.
the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Oh,
You could read pages and pages about the debates,
right.
the key players, the
Mm.
political climate.
Yeah.
But imagine if you had a visual timeline highlighting the events leading up to the signing, the key figures involved,
Yeah.
and maybe even an interactive map showing where everyone was geographically.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, the whole story comes to life in a way that just reading text
Wow.
can achieve.
That's so true. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Suddenly, it's not just words on a page.
Right.
It's a story unfolding right before your eyes.
Exactly.
You're engaging your spatial reasoning, your visual memory, and
Uh-huh.
all of a sudden the information becomes so much more memorable.
It really does, and there's solid research to back this up.
Is there?
Mayer and Moreno, back in 2003, found that adding visuals to explanations led to a huge jump in both understanding and problem-solving skills.
Really?
It's not just about making things pretty, it's about making things clear.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between reading a recipe
Yes.
and watching a cooking show.
Exactly.
You can follow the steps in a recipe,
Mhm.
but seeing the techniques visually makes a world of difference.
Precisely another concept that supports this idea is cognitive load theory.
Okay.
Our brains can only handle so much information at once.
Makes sense.
Visuals help to ease that cognitive burden
Oh,
by presenting information in a way that's easier to process.
got it.
Think of it as decluttering your mental workspace,
Mm.
making room for new knowledge to settle in.
So visuals are like the Marie Kondo of our minds,
Take track.
tidying up the information clutter.
I love that.
I can definitely relate to that feeling of mental overload
Yeah.
when trying to grapple with a complex topic.
Sure.
It's like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle with all the pieces jumbled together.
Right.
But if you have a visual guide, it's like having the picture on the box
Yes.
to help you make sense of it all.
That's a great analogy. And that brings us to the benefits of visual aids in learning.
Okay.
Are you ready to explore some of the ways visuals can supercharge your learning experience?
I am so ready. Let's do it.
Oh, great. Okay, so let's start with one of the biggest benefits of visual aids. They're incredible at simplifying complex information.
Okay.
Take something like understanding different economic systems.
Okay.
Reading about capitalism, socialism, and communism in a textbook can be overwhelming, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like trying to navigate a maze blindfolded.
Exactly. But what if you had a visual aid, like a flowchart,
Okay.
that breaks down each system, shows how they work, and compares them side by side?
Oh,
Suddenly, it's much easier to see the big picture and the key differences between each system.
I see what you mean. It's like having a map to guide you through the maze.
Exactly.
It's not just about understanding the individual concepts, but also seeing how they relate to each other.
Precisely, another major benefit is engagement.
Okay.
Think about a presentation with slide after slide of bullet points and text.
Uh-huh.
It's hard to stay focused, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But what if those slides were replaced with engaging visuals like photos, illustrations, and even short animations?
Oh, there's a huge difference. It's like the difference between listening to a lecture and watching a documentary. Visuals just draw you in and make you want to learn more.
And there's data to support that. The
Really?
Nielsen-Norman group found that people are a whopping 323% more likely to follow instructions with visuals than those with text alone.
323%. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
So it's not just about aesthetics, it's about actual effectiveness.
Exactly.
Are there any specific design principles that contribute to making visuals so effective?
Absolutely. Things like using clear visuals that relate directly to the content,
Okay.
using contrasting colors to highlight key information,
Okay.
and keeping the layout clean and uncluttered all play a huge role.
Yeah.
It's a whole science in itself.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've talked about simplification and engagement.
Uh-huh.
What about retention?
Okay.
How do visuals help us hold on to that knowledge we're trying to gain?
Remember that statistic we mentioned earlier about remembering 80% of what we see and do versus just 20% of what we read?
I do.
That's where visuals really shine. They tap into our visual memory, which is incredibly powerful.
It's like that saying a picture is worth 1,000 words. But in this case, it's more like a picture's worth 1,000 memories.
Exactly. Think about learning a new language.
Okay.
You could memorize vocabulary lists,
Right.
but imagine how much easier it would be if you associated each word with a vivid image.
Yeah.
You're essentially creating a visual anchor for the information.
That's a really good point. So it's like creating a mental map where each landmark is a piece of information you want to remember.
Exactly.
So instead of wandering aimlessly trying to find that information, you have a clear path to follow.
That's a great analogy. And remember, while visual learners might benefit the most directly,
Yeah.
visuals can enhance learning for everyone.
So even if I'm not a visual learner,
Yeah.
incorporating visual aids into my learning process can still make a significant difference.
Absolutely. It's like adding another layer of understanding,
Okay.
even if you prefer auditory learning. Having a visual representation of the information can reinforce your understanding and help you make connections you might have missed otherwise.
Okay, so we've talked about the amazing benefits of visual aids.
Yeah.
Now I'm really curious about the different types of visual aids out there.
Sure.
What are some of the most common and effective ones?
There's a whole toolbox of visual aids to choose from.
Okay, cool.
Let's start with charts and graphs.
Okay.
They're fantastic for presenting data and statistics in a clear and concise way.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to understand a complex set of data just by looking at rows and columns of numbers.
Yeah.
A well-designed chart can instantly reveal trends, patterns, and comparisons that would be difficult to discern otherwise.
Oh, I love a good chart. I remember using them in school to analyze historical data.
Yeah.
It made the information so much more digestible and even sparked some interesting discussions.
Exactly. And there are so many different types of charts to choose from, each with its own strengths.
Oh, wow.
Bar charts are great for comparing different categories.
Oh,
Pie charts show proportions of a whole.
okay.
Line graphs are perfect for showing trends over time.
Uh-huh.
And scatter plots help us see correlations between variables.
So it's not just about slapping any old chart on the page.
Right.
It's about choosing the right tool for the job.
Precisely. And then we have diagrams,
Okay.
which are brilliant for simplifying abstracts, ideas, and processes.
Okay.
A flowchart, for example, can visually represent a complex process like a manufacturing workflow or a decision-making algorithm.
Yeah.
It breaks down the process into clear steps, making it much easier to understand and follow.
Flowcharts are lifesavers.
They
I use them all the time for project planning.
Yeah.
They help me break down a complex task into manageable steps and see the dependencies between different stages of the project.
Exactly. And then there are concept maps,
Okay.
which are fantastic for visually organizing ideas and brainstorming.
Okay.
They help you create a visual representation of your thoughts and see the connections between different concepts.
Concept maps are like visual mind maps.
Exactly.
They can help you break free from linear thinking and explore ideas in a more creative and dynamic way.
Yeah.
It's like giving your thoughts wings.
That's a great way to put it. And speaking of giving your thoughts wings, we can't forget about animations and videos.
Oh, yes. Animations and videos are amazing.
Yeah.
They can bring concepts to life in a way that static images just can't.
Exactly. Imagine trying to understand a complex process, like, say, how the immune system works.
Okay.
Reading about Antibodies, T cells, and macrophages can be confusing,
Yeah.
but watching an animation that shows these cells interacting and fighting off pathogens can make the process much more comprehensible.
It's like getting a front row seat to the microscopic world inside our bodies.
Exactly.
And videos are fantastic for storytelling and historical documentaries.
Yes.
They can transport you to different places and times, immersing you in the subject matter.
Absolutely. And with the rise of e-learning, interactive infographics have become increasingly popular.
Okay.
These are traditional infographics on steroids. They can include interactive elements like quizzes, games, and even virtual simulations,
Ooh.
making the learning experience even more engaging and memorable.
Interactive infographics sound like a lot of fun.
They are.
It's like turning learning into a game.
Exactly.
And with so many different types of visual aids available, there's really no excuse for boring presentations or dull learning materials.
I agree. But as with any tool, there are some challenges and potential pitfalls to be aware of when using visuals for learning.
Okay, that's a great point. What are some of the things we should watch out for? Yeah, so we've covered all these amazing benefits. We've even dove into, charts and diagrams and interactive infographics.
Right.
But you mentioned some challenges.
Yeah.
What should we watch out for when using visuals?
Well, one of the biggest pitfalls is information overload.
Okay.
It's so tempting to cram a ton of information into a single visual,
Yeah.
but that can actually make it harder to understand.
Right.
Think of it like trying to decorate a small room with too much furniture.
It just becomes cluttered and overwhelming.
It's like that saying, less is more.
Exactly.
Sometimes simplifying and focusing on the key points
Right.
can be much more effective than trying to show everything at once.
A well-designed visual should guide the viewer's attention to the most important information.
Okay.
It's about creating a clear hierarchy of information,
Gotcha.
using visual cues like size, color, and placement to emphasize key elements.
So it's like being an architect,
Yeah.
designing a visual space where information is presented in a clear and logical way.
I like that analogy.
What other challenges are there?
Another crucial consideration is accessibility.
Okay.
We need to make sure that visual learning is inclusive
Yeah.
and reaches everyone regardless of their abilities or access to technology.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
How can we make visual learning more accessible?
Well, it's all about providing alternative formats.
Okay.
So for someone with a visual impairment, an audio description of the infographic could be provided.
Or we could use tactile graphics
Oh,
that
yeah.
allow people to feel the information.
That's cool.
It's about thinking creatively and making sure everyone have the opportunity to benefit from the power of visuals.
I love that it's about finding ways to make visual learning truly universal.
Yeah.
Are there any other pitfalls to watch out for?
One more challenge is the potential for misinterpretation.
Okay.
A poorly designed visual can actually lead to confusion or misunderstandings.
Makes sense.
If the visuals are unclear or the labels are ambiguous, it can send the wrong message entirely.
It's like those optical illusions where you see one thing,
Right.
and then suddenly your brain flicks the image and you see something completely different.
Exactly.
Context and clarity are key.
Precisely. That's why it's so important to use clear labels, legends, and explanations.
Okay.
Think of it like providing a roadmap for the viewer,
Gotcha.
guiding them through the information and ensuring they understand the intended message.
So we've talked about the amazing benefits of visual learning, explored different types of visual aids, and now we've uncovered some potential challenges.
Right.
It's a reminder that visuals are powerful tools, but we need to use them thoughtfully and effectively.
Absolutely. And as technology continues to evolve, so too will the possibilities for visual learning.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
an exciting time to be exploring this field.
Speaking of exciting developments,
Yes.
what does the future hold for visual learning? Any glimpses into the crystal ball?
Well, imagine learning about anatomy by virtually dissecting a human body in VR.
Whoa,
You could explore every organ and system in intricate detail,
that's incredible.
something that would be impossible in a traditional classroom.
It's like taking a field trip inside the human body.
Exactly. And think about history lessons,
Yeah.
where you could virtually walk through ancient Rome
Wow.
or experience a historical event firsthand.
That would be amazing.
AR and VR can create truly immersive learning experiences that were once unimaginable.
I can only imagine.
Imagine holding a 3D model of a dinosaur skull in your hand,
That would be so cool.
or exploring the pyramids of Egypt from your living room.
It sounds like we're on the verge of a whole new era of learning,
I think so.
where the boundaries between the real world and the digital world become blurred.
Precisely. And this isn't just science fiction. These
Yeah.
technologies are already being used in some educational settings and are rapidly evolving.
So AR and VR are going to revolutionize the way we learn. What other exciting developments are in store for us?
Well, artificial intelligence is also playing an increasingly important role in personalizing visual learning.
How so?
Imagine a learning platform that can analyze your learning style preferences and even your emotional responses to different types of visuals.
Okay.
It could then tailor the visual content to match your individual needs,
Wow.
making learning more engaging and effective.
So it's like having a personal tutor who knows exactly what works best for you
Exactly.
and can present information in a way that's both engaging and effective.
It's all about making learning more personalized and adaptive.
Wow. The future of learning is looking pretty bright thanks to these incredible advancements in technology.
I agree.
So to wrap things up, we've learned that visuals aren't just pretty pictures. They're powerful tools for learning.
Absolutely.
We've explored the science behind why they work, the many benefits they offer, and even some challenges to be aware of.
Right.
As we move into this exciting new era of visual learning,
Yeah.
it's important to remember that it's not just about consuming information passively.
Right.
It's about engaging with it, actively making connections, asking questions, and ultimately using those insights to shape the world around us.
The power of visual learning lies not just in understanding information, but in using it to think critically, creatively, and to make a positive impact on the world.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of visual learning.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep visualizing.